Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Year 1979, Christian origin Sejyangan Sejagamaun AG begins an ambitious journey full of enthusiasm and determination to examine the tombs of the great religious figures who have risen. Driven by an unstoppable and highly scientific curiosity, the mission is to reveal the condition of the graves of prominent figures from Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and other religions and human cultures after death. The goal is to uncover whether there are significant differences in the way these figures are treated posthumously, providing deeper insights into life, death, and the spiritual meanings embedded in the world's great religious traditions. Jular's journey begins with visits to various holy sites across the world, each housing the tombs of highly respected religious figures. In Europe, he visited the tombs of Christian priests who have long been known to try to understand the services for centuries. Ma is someone who is treated and smoothed to rest in Asang in Beit Magda, Yang Mektrisi Kalihara Jasim D. Mak must solve the mystery related to the survival of human bodies after death. He is studying the phenomenon of bodies that do not rot or are found in extraordinary conditions. Is there a pattern that connects burial methods in different religions with the resilience of their bodies, which have been dead for a long time? Is there a relationship between religious teachings and the physical condition of these religious figures? The main goal of this research mission is to find out whether there are profound differences or patterns in the way the bodies of the world's great religious figures are treated after being buried. They died, Julio hoped that his research would bring answers that could explain the phenomenon, a phenomenon that had always attracted the attention of scientists and historians for centuries. During his long journey, Julio was getting closer to his goal of uncovering the secrets of the tombs of famous figures. Surprising, confusing, when he visited the graves of Christian and Buddhist religious figures in various places. He found something shocking. Almost all the bodies buried there had been destroyed. Over time, some graves only left behind decomposed bones, while others had disappeared without any decomposition process, natural due to the long passage of time. The dew that could survive was no surprise, but a big one occurred when Julio arrived at the graves of Islamic scholars. He couldn't believe what he saw. The bodies buried there were still in very good condition, as if they had just been buried. Their skin, hair, and bodies were still clearly visible. Abanyarin Takana could not dismiss this unique phenomenon. It wasn't just any tomb, but the tombs of Maknam Uluson, which seemed to defy the usual process of decay. Despite this, he struggled to understand the reasons behind it with the scientific knowledge he possessed. This surprising discovery immediately changed the direction of Julio's research. He began to question, why was it only the tombs of Islamic clerics that were able to maintain the integrity of their bodies for so long? Why don't the bodies of religious figures and other traditions have the same durability? What makes the tombs of Islamic clerics different? And is there a scientific explanation that can support this phenomenon? Julio feels that this finding is not only important, but also contains something more. He thought about the possibility of a hidden secret that might be behind this phenomenon. Whether there was a spiritual force that played a role in maintaining the integrity of the bodies of Islamic scholars after their death, or whether this was just a coincidence. He felt that bacteria continued to bother him with these questions, increasingly haunting his mind, even shifting his focus from the research that was initially centered on comparing religions. Julio felt that he had to seek further explanations. Even though he had explored many scientific theories, he knew that this discovery was far beyond the limits of his knowledge, and he had to dig deeper to reveal what was really happening. Julio felt a sense of curiosity that disturbed him after his discovery of the graves of Islamic scholars that were still intact, leading him to an important decision. He felt that in order to understand this phenomenon, he needed to dig deeper into Islam, a religion that he had only known in general terms. Julio felt motivated to seek a deeper explanation of the teachings contained in this religion, especially after he witnessed with his own eyes the extraordinary resilience of Islamic scholars. With the determination to seek a clearer answer, Julio began to take the time to study more deeply about the history of Islam, the teachings in the Quran, and the life stories of the prophets and scholars who are role models in this religion. He read various books and literature that discuss the basic principles of Islam, starting from the concept of the oneness of God, the obligations of worship, to the wisdom contained in every teaching of Islam. Over time, Julio realized the profound truth in Islamic teachings, which could not be easily ignored. He began to understand that Islam is not only a religion, but also a comprehensive way of life. It encompasses ethics in human relationships with God and social interactions, taught in a very noble and harmonious manner. The more Julio delved into it, the more fascinated he became with the depth of Islamic teachings. This journey of understanding opened his heart to the timeless and universal values contained in the religion, making him view Islam as a source of guidance and wisdom for all aspects of life. The concept of Tawheed, or the oneness of God, which is the core of Islamic teachings, makes an impression because in Islam, everything returns to the one Almighty God who created everything in the universe. This is more interesting to Julio. How Islam teaches noble values, such as justice, resonates deeply with him. He feels like he has found an enlightenment he has been searching for. Islam gives him a clear understanding of the meaning of life and death, allowing him to live with full meaning. Julio realizes that Islam is a religion not only passionate about life, but also deeply profound. Yet as he became increasingly fascinated and touched by the depth of Islamic teachings, he could not ignore the confusion that began to overwhelm him. As a rational scholar and a devout Christian, Julio had for years sought Christian teachings as the truth of his life. However, he could not dismiss the powerful influence of Islam on his thoughts and beliefs. Islam offers a deeper understanding of the God of life and death, which seems to be in line with Islam's deeper understanding of life and death. Julio feels increasingly torn between maintaining the Christian beliefs he has lived by all this time, or following the increasingly clear truth. It was clear in his eyes that he found clarity in the teachings of Islam. Julio's search to understand Islam finally led to a very important discovery, one that touched his soul. He realized that, in Islam, the teachings about life after death and the care of the body of the deceased were very clear. This was not just a theory or philosophy, but something real, truly reflected in the daily practices of Muslims. When he witnessed with his own eyes the tombs of Islamic scholars, whose bodies were still intact even though centuries had passed, Julio began to understand that this was not a coincidence, nor an ordinary natural phenomenon. He realized that Muslims had a very deep understanding about life and death that does not only focus on the physical world, but also on the spiritual dimension that Islam requires. The body of the deceased is treated with great respect because the body is considered a trust from Allah. Finally, the body of the Islamic scholar remains to be blessed with the greatness of Allah's power. These bodies are touching Jules mentally, and he realized that this was one aspect of the truth that could not be denied. As time went by, and Julio studied the teachings of Islam, he felt an extraordinary peace. Previously, peace was in Christianity, but now he realized that Islam gave him the answer. He began to feel closeness to Allah, more real, and he felt his life became more meaningful. He realized that Islam provides a perfect guide to life, starting from how to relate to God, how to live everyday life with love, to how to prepare oneself for life after death. Haya is now full of feelings, gratitude and surrender, because he feels that only with Islam is the answer to the question of life. Seja humans, Diun is Ken Kem and an Angaun, standing in front of the camera. Without hesitation, he said two sentences, the Shahada, loudly and clearly. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Everyone around Julio, including the reporters and crew who witnessed the event, were shocked to hear such a profound statement and the change in the direction of his life. Julio's decision to say the Shahada in public was a moment that embodied transformation. After reciting the Shahada, Julio calmly and confidently explained to the world about the spiritual journey that led him to this great decision. He not only spoke about the grave and his research, but also about the search for identity and a deeper truth. Julio explained that the research he was conducting was not only aimed at uncovering scientific phenomena, but also as a way to find answers to life and death. I feel that D, who is extraordinary in his teachings, has provided something which I couldn't find anywhere else with full confidence. Julio conveyed that Islam is not just a religion, but a way of life that provides peace and perfect guidance for life. His words touched many people and opened their eyes. Mahdi Sam, in front of many people, surprising many parties, especially the Christian community who knew him. Julio, who was previously known as a devout Christian scientist, has now made a decision that has changed his life and can be said to have changed many people's views about him. The public's reaction to his decision was very varied. Most people, especially those in the Christian community, felt shocked and confused. Julio, deeply reflecting on his belief in the big decision he had just made, embraced Islam. His decision immediately attracted the attention of international media. News about Julio, who was previously known as a devout Christian scientist, now embracing Islam, spread quickly throughout the world, especially to Brazil, his birthplace. In Brazil, people wanted to know more about the reasons behind the changes and how the journey went. His spirituality led him to the decision to embrace Islam. Brazilian society, which was previously not very familiar with Islam, began to open up and wanted to know more. Journalists and public speakers asked Julio to share his journey, and he was happy to share his experiences that led to the search for identity and truth, which he finally found in the teachings of Islam. Julio Neymar's story inspired many people in Brazil to start studying Islam. Over time, more and more Brazilians began to be interested in finding out more about the religion that they previously did not understand well. Many felt moved and inspired by the changes. Julio's life and some of them began their own spiritual quests. Julio became a symbol of the courage to follow the truth, even when it meant losing his spirituality. A year after his decision to embrace Islam, his spiritual father, Isam, and his elder brother began to study the Quran. Eminem Danham was Isunaka's dan is. He shares the story of his spiritual journey, how he discovered Islam through scientific research, the discovery of the tombs of Islamic scholars, and how the discovery opened Haya to accept this religion. He talks about the peace he feels after embracing Islam and how Aymara is closer to God. His life is full of love. Also, in Western countries and big cities in the world, where understanding of Islam is still very limited, in every city he visits, Julio conveys the message of Islam in a way that is rational and compassionate. He often held lectures, meetings, and open discussions, inviting people from various backgrounds to come and listen to stories and teachings of Islam. In big cities such as New York, London, and Paris, many people were interested in learning more about Islam after hearing Julio's story. He spoke about how Islam emphasizes the importance of peace, compassion, and social justice, which resonates with many people who are starting to question the values in modern life. Julio said that Islam provides a clear view of life, death, and the true purpose of life. As a scientist with credibility, Julio is able to reach a wider audience and open their minds. Many people, who were previously doubtful or even skeptical about Islam, began to question and change their views after hearing Julio's story. He not only brought a spiritual message, but also introduced Islam as a religion based on science and rationality. With every step taken, Julio's claim began to bear fruit, not only in big cities but in villages and communities as well. More and more people were interested in studying Islam. Julio became a symbol of courage in seeking the truth, not afraid to face challenges and open to accepting the changes that come with faith. His decision to spread dawah made him known, not only as a scientist, but also as a Dai who inspired many people to embrace Islam. Julio returned to his homeland with even greater enthusiasm. In his home country, Islam became more well-known, and many studied it in more depth. Julio founded the first Islamic educational institution in Brazil, which aimed to teach the Brazilian people about Islam in more depth and objectively. This institution became a place where people from various backgrounds could learn about Islam, understand its true teachings, and feel the same peace as he did. The Islamic education classes opened by Julio not only teach the Quran and Hadith, but also Islamic knowledge that has been proven in the scientific world, such as mathematics, astronomy, and medicine, which had developed rapidly during the golden age of Islam. Julio tried to show that Islam was not only relevant to spiritual life, but could also be a source of inspiration in various aspects of life. Julio Nemar's journey of preaching not only changed himself, but also changed many people. Throughout the world, he became a symbol of the changing relationship between science and religion, and living proof that the search for truth knows no boundaries of religion, race, or background. With his tireless spirit, Julio continued to spread the message of Islam with love, until finally thousands of people who previously did not know Islam decided to embrace this religion. The world began to see Islam from a broader and more open perspective. This is the end of our video. If you enjoy Islamic content like this, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.